There are hard-boiled detectives, iconic comic detectives, and one kind of sleuth you might find less familiar who combs the countryside of Italy. Isabella dalla Ragione is a fruit detective. She's also a researcher and agronomist, but there's some investigative intrigue to her work. Dalla Ragione often pores over Renaissance-era paintings, foraging for forgotten fruits. Art students might be familiar with these famous paintings by Giuseppe Arcimboldo. Some of the foods that appear in works like these are harder and harder to find. AFP News reports that many varieties of pears, for instance, disappeared from Italy after World War II when farmers started prioritizing huge crops that had a long shelf life. Now, Dalla Ragione's mission is to hunt down the older varieties, some of which she finds deep in the woods, and preserve them. She says when we lose variety, we lose food security, diversity, crop adaptability, and culture. So she stays on the hunt in abandoned orchards and gardens and plots, hoping to rescue Italy's historic fruits from extinction. According to a new study, most of the food we eat has been linked to problems with every major organ we have. It's a bold and controversial statement, and it's our next subject on The World from A to Z. I'm Carl Azuz. Welcome to the show. First, the study. It's one of the largest of its kind, involving 43 researchers and scientists. It was published in The Lancet, a peer-reviewed English medical journal. Its focus was on something called ultra-processed foods, which includes things you might expect, hot dogs, potato chips, ramen, and white bread, and some things you might not, yogurt, cereal, energy drinks, wheat bread. The study used a classification that defines ultra-processed as any foods with at least one ingredient that's not in your kitchen, like a preservative, hydrogenated oil, or high-fructose corn syrup. The findings: people across the globe are increasingly consuming these kinds of foods, and that they're associated with an increased risk of chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, depression, obesity. To blame, the researchers put the bulk of it on large food corporations, accusing them of restructuring global food systems to increase their profits. The solutions: the study calls for new laws on the manufacture and marketing of ultra-processed foods, as well as changes to the industry that prioritize, quote, health, justice, and sustainability over corporate profits. The criticism: one food industry official says manufacturers have made changes to make foods and drinks healthier, and that their products can serve as part of a balanced diet. Other critics say existing health policies are effective in governing the foods we eat, and that ultra-processed ones haven't been proven to directly cause health problems. There's also personal choice, the freedom for people to buy and eat whatever foods they want, whether they're ultra-processed or unprocessed, like apples, broccoli, chicken, and eggs. But Johns Hopkins University says more than half the calories Americans consume come from ultra-processed foods. One thing many experts agree on is that we should eat less sugar.
It's found in foods like cakes, ice cream, and many other sweet treats. But added sugar is also found in things you drink, and experts say consuming too much sugar is a big problem in the U.S.
Most of that sugar doesn't come from what we eat. It's in what we drink.
In the U.S., adults and young adults ingest about 17 teaspoons of added sugar on an average day. That's more than 2 to 3 times the recommended daily allowance. Besides the extra calories, recent research reveals even one serving of sugary drinks a day can put you at higher risk for heart disease, says Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
It's no surprise that the American Heart Association recommends water as the best thing to drink throughout the day.
Drinks that contain a lot of sugar include sodas, sports drinks, energy drinks, and fruit-flavored beverages. So how can you help yourself opt for water instead? Gupta says to try carrying a water bottle with you at all times for easy access. And to stay hydrated, make sure you drink before you feel thirsty.
Want to make it more appealing? Try adding slices of fruit for flavor, or a splash of 100% juice. Put that in plain sparkling water.
I'm Andy Gaither.
Word of knowledge. Which of these inventors patented the 3-position traffic signal in 1923? Garrett Morgan, Granville Woods, Hedy Lamarr, Nikola Tesla. It was on this date in 1923 that a patent was granted to American inventor Garrett Morgan, a son of former slaves. Now for more history.
On this date in world history. November 20th, 1820, an American whaling ship named the Essex was rammed and sunk by a whale. Of the ship's 20 or 21 crew members who survived aboard smaller whaleboats, only 8 were still alive when they were rescued 5 months later. The incident inspired the novel Moby Dick by Herman Melville. This was the date in 1962 when the Cuban Missile Crisis was officially considered over. The U.S. lifted its naval quarantine on the island on November 20th after Soviet missiles had been removed from Cuba and America had promised not to invade the communist island and made other agreements. The extreme tension of the previous month had brought the two world powers to the brink of nuclear war. And this date in 1985 marked a milestone in technology when Microsoft began shipping Windows 1.0, the first graphics-based operating system for personal computers. Prior to that, computer commands were mostly based on text. 'Tis just weeks before Christmas, and you're not left in the lurch, cause World A to Z's got some sweet holiday merch. Don't give cars or diamonds or do something drastic. Instead, gift a hat or a shirt that's fantastic. WorldAtoZ.org's got some perfect adornments. Just think of your tree with my head as an ornament. It'll be a crowd pleaser, whatever you choose though, from everyone's favorite nonpartisan news show, WorldAtoZ.org.
Deep in rural Tasmania, rising housing prices have inspired a local family to embark on an intensive DIY project.
Good job.
With shovels in hand, Josh Rayner and his son break ground on the foundations of their new home. The family of 3 initially planned to have their home professionally built, but Tasmania is one of the least affordable states in Australia. A notoriously tough housing market and rising inflation have made buying an existing home or having professionals build a house unattainable for the Rayners and many other families. And not just in Australia. According to the NAHB, 57% of households in the United States can't afford a $300,000 home. In Singapore and Switzerland, the average 2-bedroom home costs roughly $1 million US. Hand building your home amidst the regulations, building codes, and tight, busy urban settings would be a major challenge in many countries. But Tasmania's wilderness is quite the opposite. So, the Rayners decided to do the project themselves, using building plans they found online for free. A public contribution from architect Yuri Lev. Lev used the plans to build his own home. Using domestic products to keep costs low, he completed his build in just 6 months. And it only cost him 150,000 Australian dollars. Average home prices in Tasmania range from about 500 to 800,000. It's a good bargain if you know what you're doing. Mistakes in the building process can lead to costly professional fixes, quickly turning a DIY project into a money pit. Lev himself recommends getting an expert's opinion before starting. But the blueprint is intentionally accessible to non-professionals ready to do things the old-fashioned way.
We're not trying to reinvent the wheel, we're trying to remind people what the wheel is.
What day is it?
November 20th is Future Teachers of America Day, and while it encourages young people to consider careers in education, the event also honors the contributions of retired and current teachers. The world from A to Z thanks you.
Love it when you subscribe and comment on our shows at youtube.com/@theworldatozz. That's where we heard from Mrs. Villalobos' class. Akimal Middle School is the home of the Rattlers, and it's in Phoenix, Arizona. Moving northeast, we arrive at Moline High School. The Maroons are watching from Mrs. Rostenbach's class. Hello, Moline, Illinois. And from the land of 10,000 lakes, we're happy to have Mrs. Jennifer's class with us. West Central Juvenile Center is in Moorhead, Minnesota. Rolling off the tongue a little less easily than crime and punishment is crime, attempted restitution, understanding, and forgiveness. But that's kind of the story in a clip recently shared by a yoga studio in York, Pennsylvania. A passerby took out some apparent rage on its flowers, but moments later, he brought them back and tried to replace them. The business shared the video and posted, "We are sorry you are struggling." It sent love and said, "We hope today is better." People who saw it then responded with support for both the vandal and the business. Seems they're letting bygones be begonias. And it was more than lip service. They weren't dandelion, orchiding around, or throwing out some peony message that lacked compassion. Rather, it dahliaed up a forget-me-not instead of a forgive-me-not and brought some marigolden kindness to shed a little sunflower on everyone's daisy. I'm Carl Azuz. Thankfully, you've picked the world from A to Z, and we'll be blooming with more news and puns tomorrow.